Ho, ho, ho. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this digitally enabled online meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth held on Monday, December 21st, 2020. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg, and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you. Welcome to all those who are joining us on the YouTube channel. Welcome to councillors and staff and delegates and invited presenters. We appreciate your attendance tonight as we near the Christmas season here. At this time, of course, I invite, as usual, your decorum over the course of the meeting, although it is completely acceptable to wear antlers or Santa Claus hats or any other winter or Christmas paraphernalia that you would enjoy. Let's move first to item 2.1 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with pecuniary interest, including those who have declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. I've heard ahead of time from a few of you, so let's start with Councillor Anstead. Welcome, Councillor Anstead.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you, I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on item 5.4.1, the accounts, as my son attends the St. Mary's Daycare, and also on item 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstead. Next up, welcome Councillor Behrens.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I would declare a conflict on 5.4.1 and 13.1 is I have grandchildren attending child and St. Mary's Daycare after school. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. We're experiencing a little bit of intermittency with you, but we'll work some Christmas magic perhaps. And next, welcome Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. We have a full house tonight. My gosh, I stopped counting at 28, which is really good. Anyway, I'd like to declare pecuniary interest on items 5.4.1 with regards to the accounts as well, regarding to Perth Meadows as my. Oh, what's that? As regards to my mother and father-in-law are tenants there as well. 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I think folks heard that we're having the dance party afterwards, and that's why there are so many online with us tonight. Any other councillors wishing to make a declaration pertaining to pecuniary interest? I should clarify, that's a physically distanced dance party, just in case anyone wanted to know. All right, I'm not hearing from any of you, so let's move on. To explain our virtual processes, I'll be systematically trying to seek consent from various councillors as movers and seconders of the various resolutions and bylaws that will be put before us tonight. I will do this alphabetically. Should a councillor not wish to respond to the request, they may say so, and I'll move to the next name on the alphabetical list. Regarding speaking to our business, councillors tonight will identify themselves through our conferencing technologies chat function. The clerk is assisting me tonight in maintaining the speaking order from that source. Councillors are allowed on their turn to deliver a primary question or comment and may make one supplemental. We will follow the speaking order carefully, and any councillor wishing to have a second say will have to indicate again and go to the bottom of the list. This is a normal process consistent with Robert's Rules of Orders. Councillors and delegates tonight A reminder that if I believe you're not audible, I will call on you. Councillors are further asked to maintain a mute state as our delegates in this web conference until I have called upon you for your verbal reaction. I need to turn the page here. There we go. Should any of your votes not show up in our voting technology eScribe, I'll call on you when things seem stalled to register a manual vote. At that time, take yourself off mute, answer yes or no on the motion, and then return to mute. Regarding item 2.2 of our agenda tonight, I have a motion before me. The usual motion for the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting that reads as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Why don't we start with Councillor Alf Richardson? Would you like to be the mover?
I will gladly move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much. And our second, Councillor Alf Rothwell, would you like to be the seconder for that?
I will gladly second the motion with my snowman tie.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate? Let's have that vote.
Councillor Ant said I'm in favor. I have to reboot my eScribe. Thank you.
I'm having a little trouble at the moment too. Bear with me. There we go. And are we missing one?
I'm in favor as well. I'll have to reboot eScribe. It's Alan here.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. So that is carried unanimously. Let's move on to item 3 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. These items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they do require council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 4 items on our consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, do any of you have a desire to extract any of these items for further discussion or action? I'll check with the clerk. We're not seeing any indication of that. So let's call on our next Councillor Elf. Councillor Seiler, will you serve as our mover for a motion that reads as follows? The consent items 3.1 to 3.4 be received for information, and the minutes of the December 14th, 2020 regular council meeting be adopted. Councillor Seiler.
I'll move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next promising elf who wore antlers last week, Councillor Andreessen, will you be our seconder for that?
Yes, Mayor Todd, I'll second that motion.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate? Let's have that vote. We have that carried. Thank you very much. All right, that moves us forward to item number 4. Our agenda includes 2 public meetings to deal with land planning and use matters. Actually, it's a drainage matter and a planning matter. I'll get that. So to facilitate the public meeting, we must temporarily adjourn from our regular council meeting. And I have a motion here to help facilitate that. It reads as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adjourns at 7:09 p.m. for the purpose of public meetings, first under the Drainage Act to consider the McCracken Municipal Drain Report prepared by Speak Associates Engineers and Architects, and second under the Planning Act concerning an application for a plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment by H&J Dunnigan Holdings, Inc. Let's see if Councillor Alf Anstedt would like to be our mover for that.
Yes, I would move that, Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Alf Behrens, would you be our seconder for that one?
Yes, I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much, which means that we are temporarily adjourned from regular council meeting and now may proceed to our public meeting matters. First up, we have a public meeting for a drainage report that considers the McCracken Drain. Welcome to any landowners who have been assessed on this project. Perth Health, can I just clarify, do we have any who have joined us for the purpose of this meeting? We do not. Okay. So our first order of business then is to hear from Brandon Wagner, who is a public engineer with Spreet Associates Limited, to present the report. Mr. Wagner, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight we have the McCracken Drain. So the McCracken Drain is on the northwest side of Listowel around the golf course. It's an existing drain from 1953, and the proposal is to upgrade it and change it from a tile to a ditch. The request was received from the municipality because there is a development proposed behind Catholic Church, condo development, I believe. So the original McCracken Drain is from 1953. At that time, it was a 300 millimeter tile, like a 12-inch tile to a 6-inch. And much of this tile that was installed in 1953 has changed due to a lot of the development in the area. So the bottom end of the drain we're proposing is in the area of Richards Court and Rogers Road. That's where there was an existing box culvert installed in the past. We are now proposing a new ditch run at the back of what is called the Emerald Green subdivision between that and the Listowel Golf and Country Club. There's an existing ditch there now, as you can see on the plan. So this is behind all the residential homes and abutting the golf course. So there was an existing ditch there still is. There is also an easement for portions of that ditch along there, accounted for with the Emerald Green subdivision. The drain would then turn at the north limit of the residential lands where phase 3 of Emerald Greens is proposed and run in the golf course property straight east to the abandoned railway. The drain would be located in what is the golf course property where the driving range is, right on the property line. The drain would then cross what is the former railway. I believe it's a walking trail now, and incorporate the existing pipes under there to provide the new condo development that is being proposed by PK Homes, a proper outlet for their facility. So about half the drain is already in place. We are just essentially incorporating it and improving it. There is a portion around the north end where the ditch has to be relocated to the easement that was provided, and then the ditch will be reconstructed or constructed along the north part. The municipality is assessed the entire cost of this project through the North Perth Stormwater Levy. There was some discussions with mainly the golf course, which is owned by Gateman Malloy. They also own phase 3 of Emerald Greens. As the project went through, project was kicked off in October. There was some discussions with them regarding what was being proposed. And then what we have now is a total length of ditch of about 815 meters, with the 2 culverts under the railway being incorporated. Total cost is about $64,000. A large portion of that $64,000 is allowances towards the golf course, and the remainder is construction administration. Unlike our typical projects, there's no assessment schedule because North Perth is assessed the entire cost, and North Perth is also paying for maintenance going forward. Anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Mr. Wagner. I was just sort of consulting the map as we were going. So appreciate that. Again, I don't think we have any assessed landowners on the call. So our purpose then is to direct the council. Do any of you have questions that you wish to ask pertaining to this action report? Councillor Seiler.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Brandon, you said that the drain's going underneath the walking trail?
Correct. So there's currently already existing culverts there for the surface water. They're just being incorporated as part of the drain. There will be no construction right at the walking trail, just up to the pipes on each side.
Okay, thank you. That's just what I'd like to know. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, any other questions that we have on this one? Okay, so we're not seeing any. At this time, I believe that concludes the business of this drainage consideration meeting. And the council will consider a provisional bylaw with regards to this and set a quarter revision date, although do we need a quarter revision still, given it's a municipal funded? Okay, thank you. So that concludes that public meeting. Next up then is a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for application for a plan of subdivision and a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw by H&J Dunnigan Holdings, Inc. Again, welcome to those who have registered and who are attending this public meeting. I know that we do have some who have joined us for this one. I wish to identify that this is a statutory public meeting pursuant to the Ontario Planning Act to deal with an application for a plan of subdivision and an amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw submitted by H&J Dunnigan Holdings, Inc. as owner of the subject property. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance wishing to make a comment concerning this application will be given the opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal either the Perth Council or the North Perth Council decision must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission to both of the councils. Those who wish to receive notice of the municipality's decision concerning this application are asked to make sure that the clerk is aware of your interest, providing your email address and telephone number, and that the coordinates for that, I believe, are available on the website. Is that correct? Okay. So at this time, I believe we have the tag team here. We have Mr. Gundram, Mr. David Gundram, who is a planner with the County of Perth, and we have Mr. Sean Yilmaz, who's a North Perth planner, both to speak to this application and request for amendment. And I think we'll start with Mr. Gundram from the county. Welcome, David. Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and Merry Christmas. So I'll start off. Members of County Council and members of North Perth Council, those in attendance. The applicants on behalf of the owners are seeking approval for a draft plan of subdivision on the subject lands, which are described as Part Lot 33, Concession 1 in the Listowel Ward. Specifically, these lands are located in the southwestern portion of the Listowel Ward, having frontage along Bassett Avenue, Crott Street West, and Aaron Street West. The subject lands are bounded to the north and the east by existing residential plans of subdivision, bounded to the west by an existing warehouse and distribution center, and to the south rather, and to the west by an existing multi-use trail, beyond which lay adjacent to this trail existing industrial uses on separate lots, the first being a meat processing plant, and the second being an automotive parts manufacturer. The proposed draft plan of subdivision would be comprised of a total of 148 dwelling units. Of this 148 units, 76 would be single detached dwellings, 32 would be semi-detached dwellings, and 40 would be street fronting townhouses. The draft plan would also include a set of new public roads, as well as new open space, area for overland flow stormwater, and also a dedicated area for construction of new earthen berms intended to provide both screening and sound mitigation for the proposed plan of subdivision from industrial uses that are in the vicinity. The proposed plan of subdivision would, as an overall development, have a gross density of approximately 15.9 units per hectare, and would have a net residential density that is being net of amenities and infrastructure features such as roads of approximately 24.5 units per hectare. A copy of the proposed plan of subdivision can be found on Schedule B to our report. As background to this development, in 2019, a total of 342 new dwelling units were created within the municipality of North Perth. 95% of these were actually created within the Listowel ward, where the proposed plan of subdivision is proposed to be established, with the remaining 5% of dwelling units created within all other areas of the municipality of North Perth. Based on historic building permit data reported by North Perth, the current average number of new dwelling units created per year within the Listowel ward specifically is 184 units based on the last 5-year data set from 2015 to 2019. The draft plan proposes, again, 148 new units, which would represent approximately 9.5 months of new residential unit supply for the Listowel ward based on the current annual average rate of local dwelling unit creation using this 5-year interval of building permit data. Section 143 of the provincial policy statement states that planning authorities shall provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing types and densities to meet the projected requirements of current and future residents of the regional market area. The draft plan of subdivision would provide a mix of housing types and would achieve relative proportions of 52% single detached, 21% semi-detached, and 27% townhouse dwelling units. Decisions concerning applications for draft plans of subdivision are required to be consistent with the PPS. The subject lands are found within a designated settlement area as per the PPS. With the mix of dwelling units proposed, the proposed draft plan of subdivision would both appear to be consistent with the noted policies of the PPS, as well as it would closely match historic proportions of dwelling unit creation among the 3 types for the Listowel ward. The subject lands are within the serviced urban area designation of the County of Perth official plan and constitute a settlement area as per the county OP. As the lands are within the Listowel ward, the policies of the Listowel ward official plan do apply here. Just to summarize at a high level from our report, we have evaluated the criteria that are contained under Section 15 of the Listowel ward official plan. These criteria are ones which must be observed to be met and have regard for with respect to the proposed draft plan of subdivision. Among these, one criteria states, criteria C, that development through plans of subdivision should be orderly and contiguous to existing development. The proposed draft plan has been found to be orderly and contiguous with respect to existing adjacent residential development. The proposed road network for the plan of subdivision would represent an extension of existing public roads in the area and would represent a continuation of the prevailing residential lot pattern in the surrounding area. Plans of subdivision are also should be consistent and compatible with immediate land uses in the immediate vicinity. The proposed draft plan is generally consistent and compatible with the land uses found to the north and the east. Industrial land uses, as noted, are found to the south and the west, which generally are not compatible with the proposed development. However, these uses are set at an additional distance beyond the minimum setbacks that are required by the local zoning bylaw from the edges of their respective lots. With respect to these industrial uses, a noise impact study has been provided by the applicant as prepared by J.E. Coulter Associates Limited. This study did conclude, based on sound levels generated by the noted industrial uses, that noise impacts to the proposed development would exceed Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks noise criteria found in the NPC 300 guideline during nighttime hours. The noise impact study has recommended that acoustic barriers in the form of earthen berms be constructed along both the southern and western edges of the proposed development with a height of approximately 5 meters. These berms would form a barrier along the rear yards of the dwellings that would be found along the southern and western limits of the proposed development. However, the final barrier height would have to be determined once exact grading and siting of dwellings would be known in the future. As per the criteria contained under section 15.2.2 of the Municipal Ward OP, we have found that the proposed plan of subdivision has a balanced mix of housing types. Given current levels of lot creation and dwelling creation within the Listowel Ward, as well as municipal servicing capacity, it is reasonable to suggest that this development could be developed in a single phase as is proposed. All lots within the proposed plan of subdivision would have access onto new public roads that would be developed as part of the proposal. All public roads are noted on the plan to have a proposed 20-meter right-of-way, with the exception of Aaron Street West, which has been shown to have an 18-meter right-of-way, and in this case would not meet local municipal standards. Plans of subdivision are also to be reviewed to ensure that they do not have, that natural heritage features rather are considered and that potential impacts upon such features are appropriately studied and addressed. Based on review of the materials that have been provided by the applicant, it is not anticipated that the proposed plan of subdivision and further to that, in consultation with the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, that the proposed plan of subdivision would have any impact upon any natural heritage features in the area. MVCA stated in their correspondence that they do not require that an environmental impact study or EIS be undertaken to examine the potential impacts from the development upon an existing woodlot found on the subject property. A copy of the formal comments from MVCA have been attached to our report under Schedule I. Additionally, under Section 15.2.2 of the Listowel Ward OP, the sewage capacity and water supply capacity are to be given consideration for proposed plans of subdivision and proposed plans of subdivision rather should not be approved where insufficient municipal sewage and water supply capacity do not exist. A functional servicing report was provided by the applicants, prepared by GM Blue Plan Engineering. This report has demonstrated that the proposed development is capable of being fully serviced by existing municipal infrastructure in the immediate area, and that sufficient capacity does exist to provide sanitary and water service. However, further local municipal review and consideration of the provided servicing reports is ongoing at the present time. With regard to parkland requirements, the proposed plan of subdivision would not meet the required 5% land coverage under Section 51.1 of the Planning Act. As such, a cash in lieu would be required in this case. The proposed draft plan of subdivision proposes that a total of 1.42% of its area be dedicated for parkland, whereas the Section 51.1 of the Planning Act requires 5%. To date, we have received three formal comments regarding the proposed plan of subdivision. The first comment was received by Hydro One Networks on December 4th, 2020. Hydro One expressed that they had no concerns regarding the proposed plan. December 15th, 2020, the County of Perth Planning Department received a formal comment from Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. MVCA stated that they have no objections to the proposed draft plan of subdivision, provided that the conditions that have been recommended in their correspondence be included as part of any future draft plan approval, a copy of which has been attached to our report for Council's review. And lastly, following the publishing of our report, the Planning Department was in receipt of comments from GSP Group, representing one of the adjacent landowners, Erie Meats. I understand that copy of these comments have been distributed to members of council ahead of this meeting, and I'm sure we will get into discussions regarding these comments. I'd just like to say that the Planning Department does not have any significant concerns regarding the comments and is in agreement with what's been expressed by GSP. We welcome opportunity for public reaction to the proposed application. And again, GSP Group has raised some important points and concerns with regard to the proposed draft plan of subdivision. And so at this time, the Planning Department is recommending that County Council receive our report regarding this proposed development for information, and that County Council reserve a decision, defer a decision regarding the application to a future meeting date yet to be determined. And in similar kind, we are recommending that North Perth Council receive our report for information and recommend to County of Perth Council that County of Perth Council defer decision on the matter until a future date of council. So that is the summary, a long summary of our report and comments regarding this application, and also the comments that we received out of the public circulation period. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council and members of the public may have. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that overview. Next, I think we're going to turn to Mr. Sean Yilmaz, the North Perth planner, who will comment on and present information about the request for an amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. So, Mr. Yilmaz, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. Merry Christmas to everyone. Tonight, actually, our planning intern, Kevin D'Souza, will be providing the summary for this application. Kevin assisted in the preparation of the report, and he's actually been a great help to the planning department for the past few months. So I will, however, provide some additional comments following his presentation, and will address any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. D'Souza?
Thanks, Sean, and good evening, Mayor and members of council. An application has been submitted for a zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate the approval of a draft plan of subdivision in the southwest corner of the Lestoul ward on the east side of Bassett Avenue, north of the intersection of Bassett Avenue South and Line 84. The lands of approximately 9.312 hectares is currently vacant and has historically been utilized for agricultural crop production and is currently designated for residential development in the Lestoul ward official plan. The property owner wishes to utilize the lands for residential development through the creation of residential lots and blocks for single detached, semi-detached, and street fronting townhouse dwellings. The lands are currently within the future development zone in the Municipality of North Perth zoning bylaw to accommodate future growth. Therefore, a zoning bylaw amendment is required to facilitate this proposal to change the zoning of the lands to various site-specific residential zones and other supporting zones to permit the proposed uses and address setback and other modifications to facilitate the build-out of the lots. The proposed subdivision represents Phase 2 of the Phase 1 Maitland River Estate subdivision that lies to the north of the subject lands, and an existing subdivision abuts the subject lands to the east. The built form of the various types of residential dwellings proposed and the road extensions proposed provide a logical extension of the abutting subdivisions and is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to the County of Perth and the Lestoul ward official plan's direction for development in urban service areas to provide a range of housing types in a cost-effective manner that maximizes servicing infrastructure and land utilization. The site-specific zoning amendments requested to the residential 3 and 5 zones include reductions to the parent residential zoning standards that are generally consistent with development on adjacent lands and do not present any major concerns. As the Maitland River lies to the north, 2 blocks are proposed in the north of the site to be rezoned to the floodplain zone and park and recreation zone to capture the floodplain area of the Maitland River. Several industrial uses lie to the west and south of the subject lands. As such, a noise study was conducted by the applicant as requested during pre-consultation with the municipality, and the noise study found that it was necessary to limit the height of residential dwellings to 1 story, about a height of 5 meters, but this may change through ongoing discussions with the applicant to mitigate against noise from the adjacent industrial uses, and this limit is reflected in the requested site-specific residential zones. The noise study also found it necessary to construct a noise barrier along the south and west perimeter of the subject lands. Approval of the zoning bylaw amendment as requested will allow for the designation of 2 blocks along the south and west perimeter of the subject lands to the park and recreation zone to allow for the construction of a 5-meter high noise barrier or berm, providing adequate buffering and noise mitigation for the proposed residential land uses from the neighboring industrial uses, as required by the official plan. However, details regarding the noise berm and its design are still being developed. Therefore, although staff is of the opinion that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statement and is generally in conformity with the County of Perth and Listowel Ward official plans, staff recommends that council defers the application for the zoning bylaw amendment until staff has had ample time to digest questions and concerns and comments generated from the public meeting and to remedy any of these outstanding issues. Thank you.
Mr. Yilmaz, did you want back in?
Yes, and thank you, Kevin, for providing the summary. Just to add some additional points for council, we have had several inquiries regarding the removal of the existing berm that is currently located on private lands on the adjacent residential development to the east. Staff is aware of the interest of the removal of this feature, and we are actively discussing how best to proceed with this. This is a collective effort, as it is my understanding that all of this feature needs to be removed and access to private lands is necessary. We also need to confirm how this impacts the approved plan of subdivision agreement, the approved plan and subdivision agreement, and if any modifications are required. And as Kevin mentioned, it is staff's recommendation to defer a decision on this zoning bylaw amendment tonight. Generally, we are supportive of the proposed zoning and mix of housing types. However, we still need additional time to answer some outstanding questions that may impact the design of the development. And if council does defer a decision, we will bring back the amendment with any revisions and can discuss those changes at that time. Staff can take any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yilmaz, and thank you, Kevin. Welcome to our council meeting. I want to compliment you on a fine presentation to our council. I write great reference letters, so just ask when you need one. Okay, next up, I would like to review our notice of public meeting details. And first I'll call, I think, on Mr. Gundrum, just to make sure we've got it on record. David, do you want to share with us the notice information, please?
Yes, Mayor Kasenberg. Through the mayor, notice of public meeting was provided as per the requirements of the Planning Act on December 1st, 2020. This included physical posting on the subject property, as well as mailing to all existing property owners within 120 meters of the boundaries of the property, as well as posting to the County of Perth website.
Thank you, and I'll next call on Clerk Bearfelds. I need to adjust my audiovisual settings so that we don't invite the abominable snowman into our midst, so please hold.
As well, notices were mailed to all landowners within 120 meters of the subject property and applicable agencies on December 1st, 2020. As well, the notice was posted on the municipal website on December 1st, 2020. And in regards to correspondence, the municipality was in receipt of 2 pieces. Both of them have been shared prior to tonight's council meeting to members of council. The first was from Mrs. Marilyn Irwin, as well. And the second one was from Hugh Handy from the GSP Planning Group. Again, both pieces of correspondence will be noted in tonight's public meeting minutes.
Thank you, Clerk Bearfelds. I think, David, you told us about reports and so forth that had been received, so I'm not sure that we need you to reiterate that at this point. But if you missed anything that we should know, please shout at this point.
Through the mayor, Mayor Kasenberg, I'm not noting anything else that's outstanding in terms of response to the public meeting notice, at least not for the draft plan of subdivision. I did note comments received from Hydro One Networks and Maitland Valley Conservation, in addition to what's noted and been provided to council that's emanated from GSP Group. I'm not aware of any other comments that have come in other than those and the ones that were noted by Clerk Bearfelds regarding the zoning.
Great, thank you. So I think that allows us to move on to the comment period then in our meeting. First, I'm going to call on any who are in attendance who wish to support the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. So have any who registered tonight and who are with us, if you wish to speak in favor of this application, please so indicate at this time. Take yourself off mute, that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm not hearing anything on that front. So that means I'm going to move to the next opportunity for comment, which is to hear from those who are in opposition to the application. In some cases, they may have questions that would lend to opposition to the application. I have a list of people who have registered in advance and who we believe are in attendance at this call. The first on the list is Hugh Handy, who I believe is with GSP Planning. They sent a written document, but I believe Mr. Handy would like to speak as well. So Mr. Handy, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council, staff, and those viewing. My name is Hugh Handy. I'm a senior associate with GSP Group, and I'm a land use planner. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. GSP was recently retained by Erie Meats to review the proposed plan of subdivision and related zoning bylaw amendment. Erie Meats owns a property to the west of the proposed residential development. As been noted through the presentations, we submitted a letter last Friday dated December 18th, 2020, and I know that is in front of council and in the public record. We also submitted a letter along with SLR Consulting, who is a noise consulting firm who has also been retained by Erie Meats. In our letter, and I know we sent a corrected version, minor point, but Erie Meats has been in business, and I think this is under point 1 of our letter since 1977, not 1997 in case, and that's under the first sentence under background, just if that's in the public record, just to clarify. Today, Mr. Patterson, knowing about our correspondence, reached out to me, and I appreciate that in terms of establishing a dialogue. It's always difficult to come before a council to indicate an opposition, and I don't think at this point it's necessarily an opposition, but it's a very serious concern that I'll explain in a little more detail. But I appreciate that. I also appreciate the email contact with David and Sean leading up to this and recognizing our correspondence. And again, that's appreciated. As council will know, Erie Meats is a major employer in town. Almost 500, over 500 employees with plans for expansion at the site. Our client is very concerned about the proposed residential development in terms of compatibility, and therefore we took immediate steps to, they took immediate steps to engage our services, land use planning, and as well engage a noise and air quality consultant, that being SLR. Scott Penton is with SLR Consulting and has taken the time to do a preliminary review of the assessment completed by J.E. Coulter. Mr. Penton has raised a number of issues with respect to the study that has been completed to date, and we recognize it's a preliminary study, but nonetheless, these are summarized in section 3 of our letter. I don't intend to go over those in great detail, but to note that those concerns are both from a noise and air quality perspective at this point, and as I'll note in a second, we look forward to continued dialogue on that point. In summary, our concerns as of this evening, based on our preliminary review, is that the planning opinion report by Patterson Planning Consultants dated July 20th has not addressed how the proposed development is consistent with section 1.26 of the provincial policy statement, nor did the report demonstrate how the proposed development conforms with 8512 of the listable ward official plan. We feel that the approval of the draft plan of subdivision and rezoning is premature in advance of a peer review of the noise impact assessment, and additional studies that may be required regarding potential noise or odor impact from Erie meat products. Also, we have some questions, and those are again noted in our summary to our letter. Will the proposed residential use on the subject lands create compatibility issues with respect to the existing industrial operation of Erie Meats and result in any limitations on their operation or expansion of the facility in the future? Also, does the proposed development threaten the long-term viability of Erie Meats or other nearby industrial facilities? We support the deferral of the application this evening. It's been noted by both your planners, and would look forward to the full consideration of our comments to date on the application. As indicated to Mr. Patterson this afternoon, we are also open to further discussion between the two noise consultants to understand both what was studied and further, based from our consultant, what needs to be studied. So I think that's an important thing to note for all those in attendance. I appreciate your consideration of our comments and would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. I'm going to turn, I think what we'll do is we'll go through our delegates as a batch, and then if there are questions that councillors have that they would like to ask of those who have delegated, then they may do that in a dedicated question period. So next I have Ashim Tomi, who has indicated a desire to speak. Welcome, Ashim.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello, Mayor Kassenberg and other honorable council members. Thank you for allowing me to talk in this council meeting. I appreciate all your time. I have few things to say. I am a homeowner here in Adams Avenue, and I have some concerns about the upcoming property in that particular land. However, I'm happy to see there is affordable housing coming up in North Perth, but I see this total plan is premature, and there is lots of issues with the noise, as Hugh Handy was explaining about during his talk about the Erie Meats and other industrial properties. And also, when we all bought the land, there were things told to us that it's going to be a farmland. There's never going to be a subdivision approved. So I feel that comment is not fulfilled with this new proposal. And also, I have concerns about the berm, the noise barrier on my property, on the border of my property, which allows the noise not coming to my house from Erie Meats and other industrial properties down there. And if the proposed plan is to go ahead, I have concerns that what's going to happen to the noise berm. I know that we all the property owners have about 14 feet of land on the other part of the berm. So I have a concern that what is going to happen to that land which we are paying property tax for. So I would like the mayor and the councillors to take an account of those land, and and I also concerns with houses coming up there where how it is viable and it is livable for people with all those industries nearby. And when as I live here in this closed land, I can hear lots of noise in the nighttime, especially nighttime. It's not very noticeable during the daytime. However, it is very, very noticeable during the nighttime. So I'm concerned about the noise level, and it is very premature that this plan is not studied very well. And so those are my concerns. And I would like to see if this plan is going forward, what is going to happen to the noise barrier, the berm. I request that the berm has to be moved down to the other to the boundary, and my land has to be flattened, like graded down, and there should be a new wall built, because I would like to have my land back so I can have a nice backyard. Because when we were not allowed to have a window on the back of our house, the windows what we have now is on either sides. So when I open a window, I'm facing right to my neighbor's washroom. So in my master bedroom, I'm not even allowed, not possible to open my window. Same in my washroom. When I open the window, it goes direct to the other person's master bedroom. So technically, we are not allowed to have the windows on that side, and I feel it is unfair. And county should see all these things and consider everything before we go ahead and propose this plan approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tomey, for participating tonight.
Thank you.
We may call back on you with questions, so please stick around. Next up is Dicho Vejhayil. I hope I didn't really pronounce that terribly, but if you'd like to repronounce your name for us, I could stand corrected. Dicho, welcome.
Hi, good evening all. So it's almost, Anish told almost everything. So it's the same concerns I have, because the main thing is that when I bought this property, so everyone was, my lawyer told me that and the builder told me that, I'm not able to put a window at my bike side. So now I am, I'm saying exactly same things what Anish told. The exact same concerns I have, there is no difference. He said it well. So to be honest, this is unfair. Actually, I can't even open my master bedroom's windows. It's whenever to be honest, till this day, I didn't open that master bedroom's windows, because it directly opened to my neighbor's washroom, their master washroom. So and the other thing, the sound barrier. I think, I have about 16 feet of land, over that, after that fence, and I am paying tax for that to the county. So, or, to the county. So, if there is something, something happened or something going on, then the fence should move to the boundary of my land. Then my land should be it should be graded, it should be make flattened. Then yeah, that's I don't want to tell anything more. Anish said it well. I have same concerns what Anish told to the council. So please do the needful, and please yeah, do the best thing for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vashayil. We appreciate your comments. Please stick around. And next we have Princey Papachan. Princey, welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the same concerns. When we brought this house, they said we have more place behind our fence, so we have the same problem whatever Dijo mentioned, and also we have the same issues about our master bedroom. There is no windows, so if there is any properties coming in that place, we need that too. So whatever Dijo and Anish mentioned, I have the same opinion.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do we have any others who are to speak to this issue in terms of being in opposition or having questions that lead to Okay, we're gonna mute some microphones there. Thank you. Okay, so then we turn our attention at this point to the applicant or the applicant's agent. And I understand Mr. Scott Patterson of Patterson Planning Consultants is with us. Welcome, Scott. Scott, are you with us? Did we lose Scott?
Mayor Kasenberg?
Yes, there we are.
Sorry, my camera and microphone aren't working. I'm just on microphone now.
Oh, well, carry on, Scott.
My apologies on that. So thank you, Mary Kasenberger and members of council for having me here tonight to speak to this application. For the sake of not doing overlap with what your planners have provided, just to give you the sky view of the project, it's on lands that are designated residential in the local official plan. It's an extension of the subdivision to the east with the extension of Aaron Street West and Crott Street West, which will connect to Bassett Avenue South and outlet to Line 84. As noted, it's a 148-unit project, mostly consisting of bungalows. I think in the planner presentation, it was noted that they were all bungalows. That's not the case. The vast majority of the project is bungalow-oriented, with some two-story development in the northeast corner of the project, based on the noise study and when the noise abatement measures are no longer required. The zoning being sought is a site-specific R3 and R5 zoning to reflect and support the development. And as noted, we did submit a noise study to address the land use compatibility. And we are in receipt of the comments submitted on behalf of Erie Meats. I did reach out to Mr. Handy earlier today, as he noted, and offered to continue a dialogue with them for sure. It was not our intent to submit a project or a plan that would impede their operations or their development. And naturally, we want to achieve land use compatibility between the two projects going forward. So that's something that will continue. I know that staff have put forward a recommendation for a deferral tonight, and we're in support of that deferral given the comments that have been submitted and just the ongoing issues and discussions that need to happen with county and local staff regarding the berm, noise abatement, land use compatibility, and some of the zoning related issues as well. And I'm here to answer any questions and to get any feedback from council tonight so that we can go forward and try and address those comments and then come back to you with a project that is satisfactory to all parties. So with that being said, if there are any questions from council, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Does Mr. Dunnigan want to speak as well? I'm not hearing an indication. So Mr. Dunnigan wishes to speak. He is in attendance tonight as the proponent. Okay, at this time then, the opportunity for councillors to ask questions of any of the delegates who have participated in our meeting is available to council. So I would invite you to submit your name to the speaking list for Clerk Berfelds to manage for us, councillors. I assume you may have some questions or comments. Anything from you? Clerk Berfelds, are we seeing anything? Councillor Rothwell, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and thank you, staff, for the presentations, and thanks to the members of the public for raising concerns. I want to make sure, Mayor Todd, through you, that our staff, both at the county and local level, address the issues that have been raised, A, by Planner Yilmaz, and secondly, with respect to the property owners regarding the existing subdivision to the east of the proposed plan. And the reason why the berms on their private properties are located there, and the reason why their houses are constructed the way they are here, so that there's a full understanding why those houses are constructed the way they are, and the lots are and the berm is constructed in its location. I'd like the report coming back to give council the full understanding, as well as the public, of what can and cannot be done with respect to that subdivision, which is outside of the jurisdiction of this application, but does have implications with respect to this plan. And these are crucial issues, I think, as we move forward here. The neighboring subdivision has a long history, and the decisions that were made by the then Ontario Municipal Board and was based on agreement with the property owner of that development, as well as former Campbell Soup and LTI, gave us the plan of subdivision that was created in that time. Clearly, things have changed here with this subject property, and the same issues are being proposed to be addressed with respect to the creation of a berm, and with respect to limitation of height, as well as how buildings are constructed, as well as to how air conditioning and so on is to be installed, part of and a noise warning clause and so on. So those are critical issues that have to be understood, A, by the public, B, by this council, and C, by the applicant, the importance of these matters going forward. And I look forward to seeing those matters addressed, and I am in support of the proposed deferral on both the plan subdivision application as well as the zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. Any other questions on the list for Mayor Felds? No one else has questions? Okay. Seeing that, again, actually, profound thanks to those who have joined us from the community tonight to ask their questions and register some concerns about this. It is an important part of the sort of democratic planning process that we hear your voices. And so thank you for taking some time out of your Monday night to inform us about the things that are on your mind. Thank you as well to Mr. Handy for joining us tonight on behalf of his client. Thanks to Mr. Patterson and to Mr. Dunnigan for coming out as well. I guess I'm just filled with thanks. I suppose that's the Christmas season. I don't know. So let me just point out what the future actions look like so that people are aware. Following this public meeting, North Perth Council will consider a recommendation concerning the official plan amendment, which will be sent to Perth County Council. Plan of subdivision. Oh, it says official plan amendment. Sorry. Plan of subdivision. Thank you. That will be sent to Perth County Council, and it'll also consider its own zoning bylaw amendment opportunity before this meeting is over. There is a proposition on the table the council will be asked to consider. The Perth County Council decision will be subject to appeal to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. I'm looking for confirmation in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we can bring this planning public meeting to a close. That means it's time to consider resuming our regular council meeting, and I have a resolution to that end. For our delegates, what that means is that you can bid us a teary goodbye or a cheery goodbye, whichever you prefer at this point. And again, our thanks for attending tonight. We're appreciative of your participation in this process. I have a resolution for council's consideration to bring us back into a regular council meeting. It reads as follows: that the public meetings are now adjourned at 8:04 actually. Let's call it 8:04 p.m. and the council reconvenes into regular open council. And I'll call on Councillor Alf Duncan. Will you be our mover for that?
Yes, I can move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Alf Kellum, will be our seconder for that one.
Ho ho, yes I will.
Thank you for that. Any discussion or debate, council, on the resuming? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. It means that we come back into session as a regular council meeting at this point in time. And if our delegates have remained, you're welcome to stick around as we consider the actual business that has emerged from this. First, we're going to talk about drains. And I have, for council's benefit, a few resolutions with regards to this, including a bylaw resolution, all pertaining to the McCracken Municipal Drain. So let's go through these. First up, recommended to our consideration that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth will accept the McCracken Municipal Drain Report dated December 7th, 2020, prepared by Spreet Associates Engineers and Architects. Can I call on Councillor Elf Johnston to be our mover for that one?
I would elfishly move that.
Thank you. And that's the last time I'll call any of you elves tonight. Just a little fun at the front here. Councillor Richardson, will you be our seconder for that?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on that one? Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Next item on this drain matter, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth will hold the Court of Revision for the McCracken Municipal Drain on January 11th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Can I call on Councillor Rothwell to be our mover for that one?
Also move, yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on that one? All right, let's have that vote. And that is carried. So councillors who are involved with the Court of Revision will be meeting on January 11th for that one. And finally, we have the bylaw for consideration, the bylaw enabling resolution, the bylaw 186-2020 being a bylaw to provide for a drainage works, McCracken Municipal Drain, be introduced, read, and considered read a first and second time, and be provisionally adopted, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and be sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Andreessen to be our mover for that?
Yes, Mayor Kasenberg, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstett, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I would second that. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Any discussion or debate on the provisional bylaw? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Council. Now we have the matters of the application for draft plan of subdivision. So we have two resolutions here. Council, you've heard what the propositions are from our planners, but let me introduce to the floor the following for consideration. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth received the report entitled Application for Draft Plan of Subdivision by Patterson Planning Consultants, Inc., Scott Patterson and MCIP RPP on behalf of H&J Dunnigan Holdings, Inc., number NP 20-02 for information. And that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommended the Council of the County of Perth that the application for draft plan of subdivision by Patterson Planning Consultants, Inc., Scott Patterson, MCIP RPP on behalf of H&J Dunnigan Holdings, Inc., number NP 20-02 for property described as part of Lot 33, Concession 1, Listowel Ward, Municipality of North Perth, Bassett Avenue South, Listowel, be deferred for decision to a future County of Perth Council meeting date to be determined. Can I call on Councillor Behrens to be our mover for that one?
Yes, I will move that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Duncan, will you second that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this matter? All right, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. That means that we'll ask the county to defer its decision. This next one relates to the zoning bylaw amendment, which is local, and it reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth defer the application for a zoning bylaw amendment affecting property described as part of Lot 33, Concession 1, Bass Avenue Listowel Ward in the municipality of North Perth as submitted by Patterson Planning Consultants on behalf of property owner H&J Dunnigan. Can I call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to be our mover for that?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I would second that.
Thanks. Council, any discussion or debate on the zoning bylaw amendment deferral that's been proposed? Seeing none, let's have that vote. So that is carried, and that means that this council will also defer its decision rendering until a future date. Thank you all for those matters. Now let's turn our attention to our delegations. We have two further delegations this evening. First, as item 4.3, it is my pleasure to council to introduce Lee Barrich, who is our CIP project planner. Recall, please, that our corporation has embarked on work to evolve a community improvement program with support from the province of Ontario through a Rural Economic Development, or RED grant, that was approved by the province to us in 2020. Lee has been with us now for, I think, a few months, and despite the pandemic, has been making progress towards building out a platform for our community improvement program. So I'll ask Lee to give us an update as a delegate tonight. Welcome, Lee.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Kaysenberg and members of council. This evening, I'll be providing an update on the status of our facade improvement program. The facade improvement program is a tool that has been outlined in the community improvement plan that allows us to provide grants or loans to local businesses in the downtowns of Listowel, Atwood, and Moncton, which will help them improve the physical features of their properties, such as the improvement of the facading, the improvement of signage, or the improvement of awnings. Details of this program will be identified and presented to council for review and consideration towards the end of February or the beginning of March. So facade improvement programs have had quite a bit of success in neighboring municipalities, such as the town of Hanover or the town of Minto, which have both seen great results. Facade improvement programs can help create a sense of place for residents and increase their likelihood to participate in the local economy and thus foster some economic growth. Now, this project is going to be divided into two key components. The first component involves developing a strategy and implementation procedures as to how we're going to work with applicants throughout this project. The second component involves developing commercial design guidelines to make sure that the improvements to properties in the downtown are going to complement and reflect the unique characteristics that our downtowns currently have. So up to this point, I've put most of my energy towards researching different facade improvement programs across Ontario. So what this research has involved is a detailed review of policy and studies in North Perth, a in-depth assessment of the current assets and opportunities that exist in our downtowns, a detailed review of facade improvement programs in other municipalities, and that does also include information interviews with staff at those municipalities and site visits in order to assess how their projects have been carried out. So this research process has been very insightful so far, and it will help staff move forward in understanding how we can best use this program to support the community. Now, I provided council with a timeline for this project. We are nearing the end of the first phase, which is our research stage. And in January, we'll be moving into phase 2, which is the community engagement process. The community engagement process is going to involve consultation with residents and business owners. The first stage of the community engagement process will be a series of surveys. This will be targeted to both residents and local business owners a little differently. We hope to have that launched in January. And at a later date, we hope to host some online focus groups with the respondents of those surveys in order to have a little bit more interaction with them. The timeline presented here should be considered as a living document. As we move forward and begin to interact with the public and local stakeholders, and we gather more information, some of the later dates in this program may be subject to change. So that concludes the update on the facade improvement program, and I can answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Council, if you have any questions, can you identify yourself through the chat function, and we'll queue up Lee to give you some answers. Are we seeing anything, Clerk Bearfelds? Okay. So Lee, thank you very much. I know it was a pleasure to meet with you. I had the opportunity to chat with you earlier on in the project, and I look forward to where this is going for our communities. It seems like a powerful opportunity for our community to grow and improve. Thank you. Next up on our delegation agenda is item 4.4. I'll invite Jill Lewis of North Perth to introduce us to the report coming from consultants Lord Cultural Resources related to the possible development of a children's museum in North Perth. Jill is chair of the community group working on this project, and Ted Silberberg of Lord is consultant project lead, and I expect will be our primary presenter this evening. But first, I think I'll call on Jill by way of introduction to sort of set us up, and then she can call on Ted at her convenience. So Jill, you want to say a few words?
Hi, good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg and members of council. I am Jill Lewis. I'm the chairperson for the now Huron Perth Ag Science Center Steering Committee project. So I'd like to thank council for supporting our application to fund the feasibility study, which did start as a children's museum project, which Ted will talk about how we've change gears a little bit towards the Science Center concept, but and also I would like to thank council for allocating the time for Kim Couch to work with us on this project. So tonight, the consultant and I, we will briefly highlight the important aspects of the feasibility study, and we'll save most of our available time for your comments and questions. Our objective is to achieve federal, provincial, and private financial support to build an agriculture-focused science center here in North Perth. The center is intended to provide year-round education and enjoyable opportunities primarily for children and their families and for school groups. It will supplement the sports and recreation programs that we already enjoy, and it will encourage more young families to live here. The Ag Science Center will also build pride in agriculture, which will hopefully help retain more youth in our community. The center will be capable of attracting both regional residents and tourists because the closest science centers to here are in Toronto and in Sudbury. So I'll now ask Ted Silberberg of Lord Cultural Resources to briefly highlight the main recommendations and financials that are emerging from the feasibility study.
Thank you, Jill. As Jill said, there are federal and provincial capital funding programs that the committee will need to apply to for implementation of the Huron Perth Ag Science Center. A key issue, however, is success in obtaining those funds will depend in part on demonstrated municipal support for the project. What we've recommended is allocating the land for the building and helping to pay for part of the annual operating costs. We also think that an agriculture focus should help to increase the likelihood of private sector support, especially from the agriculture industry. So we have a number of main recommendations. The first is a municipally owned site in North Perth. Second, a building of about 15,000 net square feet of usable space. We think that that's large enough to be able to attract first-time and repeat visitors, but modest enough to likely be implementable. Capital costs for the building and exhibits are estimated at $13.8 million. We also recommend that the Ag Science Center be an independent, not-for-profit institution, but that the municipality of North Perth own the building. So the building would be paid for entirely by federal, provincial, and private capital funds and leased to the Science Center for $1 per year. However, as owner of the building, we would like the municipality to contribute to building occupancy costs, similar to your financial support for the operating costs of public library and recreational facilities. We estimate the value of the operating costs, which occupancy costs, those are utilities, repairs and maintenance, insurance, to be in the range of $130,000 to $140,000 per year. That's within an annual operating budget for the Ag Science Center of about 1.0 to 1.1 million. Annual operating funds are also going to be required from Perth County, Huron County, and private donations and sponsorships. And they're also going to want to know that there is a municipal commitment to help with operating costs. Earned income levels, and that's admissions, retail, rentals, birthday parties, memberships, etc. We've projected those to generate about 55% of operating revenues, and that's in the same general range as other science centers and children's museums, and better than the performance of other museum types. Turn it back to you, Jill, to conclude.
Thank you, Ted. So in conclusion, what we are seeking is first support from Municipal Council regarding the desirability of a Huron Perth Ag Science Center in North Perth. And second, we're seeking a conditional municipal commitment to land and to support part of the operating costs of the center. So this will substantially increase the likelihood of success in receiving our federal and provincial capital funds. And to repeat, the municipal commitment requested is conditional. So if we are not successful in achieving federal and provincial funds, there would be no project and therefore no need for land in North Perth or annual financial support for the operations. Thank you for your attention. And what are your comments and questions?
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Ted. I think first, if I might, as the public knows, this started off as a children's museum and has become an ag science center. So we might need a little bit of the evolution of thinking around that, just so that everybody's on the same
page. Jill, would you like to comment, or would you like me to do so?
You can, Ted.
Okay. Yes, there are a number of differences. A children's museum is oriented to very young children. Usually it goes up to around age 8. A science center will attract older children and also adults who are not accompanying children. Second, there's an issue of perceived duplication. As Jill said, there is no science center in the region. The closest is in Toronto, the Ontario Science Centre, and then you have Science North in Sudbury. However, there is a London Children's Museum, which is still, it's a couple of hours away, but it's still in the region and it's expanding. So it's important to avoid duplicating it. So those would be the two main factors: a wider market and avoiding duplication.
Thank you. Jill, anything to add to that?
I think as well, being able to focus on the ag side of the Science Center, it would be unique because there currently are no agriculture-focused science centers in Canada.
Right. It doesn't seem like it's very common even in North America, if I'm following the bouncing ball. Okay, so I think what I'll do with Council's indulgence is I'll ask CAO Snell to comment on maybe process and how we structure our approach to this, just so that we have an idea of how we might proceed. Chris, do you want to offer some comments?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Certainly, a request typical to this would be something that we would usually refer onto the budget process, which, as Council is aware, we're well underway. And certainly, I think that would be the most obvious outcome from tonight's would be to defer this to the 2021 budget committee meeting. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions council may have.
Okay, so we have our two delegates and CAO Snell, if you have questions of him about process and moving forward. Council, any questions on this matter? Councillor Andreessen, let's start with you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Todd. And perhaps, Mayor Todd, you might be able to answer this question as well. Just to get clarification just for my purposes about the county versus the local level, because I'm wondering if there's a role for both in terms of supporting this project, because I think it's a really awesome project. I'm very excited about this type of focus, but I just want to distinguish between those two roles. Certainly, it seems clear that the Science Center would need to have land and a building, from the municipal level, from the lower tier, but just wondering around operating costs and support, is that at all at the, from a shared county level as well? I saw in the report shared costs with Huron as well, but I wondered if perhaps there could be some comment on the county level. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Andreessen. Actually, let me send that over to CAO Snell first, I think. Chris, are you there?
Sorry, I had a problem with my mute button. Thank you again. As outlined in the report, certainly the operations will require support from both the Huron County and the Perth County level. Maybe Ted or Jillian could comment on the specifics of that outlined in the report, but I believe the report does include both operating support from both Perth and Huron counties. But I'd certainly like to hear from Ted or Jillian.
Yes. It is called the Huron Perth Ag Science Center. So agriculture industry, Huron Perth. So at this size, it can be of regional orientation. Because it's in Perth, we've done a scenario of where operating funds would come from. We've identified building occupancy costs, utilities, repairs and maintenance, insurance for a municipally owned building to be paid by the municipality of North Perth. We've estimated those costs to be in the range of $130,000 to $140,000 per year. We've also, in the scenario, recommended $100,000 per year from Perth County and $50,000 per year from Huron County to support operating costs.
So I think perhaps Councillor Andreessen's question remains a political one, which is, for what reason would we reach out to Perth County and the County of Huron? I think that the premise has been answered. The question is, would those other jurisdictions wish to participate? And that would remain to be tested moving forward. So I think you can make the argument that both of those organizations, both of those upper tier municipal organizations do undertake economic development activities and supports. And probably for that reason, it is politically reasonable to make a request of those two entities in the context of this serving as a regional science center. Councillor Rothwell is next.
Thanks, Mayor Todd, and thanks, Jillian and Ted, for the reports. This is a very exciting concept. I am concerned, however, regarding the desire to strike out on our own as opposed to utilize or look specifically at our Stratford Perth Museum footprint, as well as the Huron County footprint. And even on a larger scale, and it's not specifically gone into detail, but and again, this is, I fully understand that this is an agriculture science center, but there is the Country Heritage Park in Milton, which was operated as the Ontario Agriculture Museum by the province of Ontario, started in 1975, and then established as the Country Heritage Park by a nonprofit corporation, as I understand, within an hour and a half drive of our location here, and that serves the whole province of Ontario. There are other agricultural museums, again, different than an agriculture science center. And clearly, I think I want to hear as we move forward in terms of what you see as the difference between a museum versus an agriculture science center. And then whether the fact that we have the international plowing match that happens all throughout Ontario once per year, except of course in 2020, as well as the outdoor farm show, and what benefits that has, and whether there's a co-location even regarding their new location in Woodstock. So I am frankly concerned in terms of the operations and the cost, A, to establish, and B, to maintain and operate with a staff of 5 plus additional support staff. So, but I don't want my comments to diminish the fact that I believe that there's been a lot of work on this, and it's good work to look at possibilities. I'm just not sure that in its form that I see at the moment that we're going to be able to afford something going forward, even from an operational cost. Thank you.
And next is Councillor Behrens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. And I would have a tendency to agree with Councillor Rothwell on this. I know it sounds like an exceptionally exciting project, and thank you for all the work that has been put into it. But quite frankly, I think given the current state of the economy and our country, I'm not so sure that we can budget for this in 2021. When you look at the feasibility study, and one would say the only reason it's feasible is because of local government coming in, you know, we're talking about a $13.8 million building. We're talking about gifting of land. We're talking about supporting operating costs in perpetuity, both at the North Perth level and at the Perth County level. And when you take a look at all of the stats, and you're reading that, you know, there's 2 science centers in Ontario with, you know, just shy of 14 million people, I'm not so sure that a county of simply 76,000 has the capabilities, unfortunately, to support it. You know, a lot of the other science centers around, whether it's agriculture or whatever it is, usually have major corporate sponsors. And I think there's got to be a little bit more legwork done and firm commitments on behalf of a number of the entities that were suggested in the report. But for me to say that North Perth is going to be responsible for the operating costs that include, you know, the land, we're going to own the building, we're going to pay for the insurance, the utilities, all of that stuff, I simply can't, unfortunately, at this moment in time, even though I think it's a terrific idea, can't support it at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments at this point?
Can I just respond to one quick item?
Sure.
Council, the ask is not for 2021. The ask is for 2024. That is when the building would be assumed to be opened. So the whole assumption is that there be federal and provincial and private money, as Jill said, for the capital. If there is no capital, there would be no need for land and no need for operating support. But in order for them to proceed, they need an indication of support from the municipality that would be conditional upon all of the capital funds being there. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks, Ted. Any other questions or comments at this time from council? Okay, so the clerk isn't seeing any. So thank you to Jill and her team who've been working at this as dedicated volunteers. Thank you to our consulting firm. I don't know whether you want to take note of some of the concerns that were expressed, Mr. Silverberg, but perhaps that is worth your note in terms of finalizing your report if that hasn't been finalized. But we sure appreciate all the work that you've done and the insight that you've gained through the process that helps us to begin to understand what would be involved in the nucleation of an ag science center in North Perth. I think the clerk has asked that the council consider two resolutions with regards, or is it a single resolution? A single resolution, two resolutions, one for each of the delegates, just to acknowledge receipt of these reports from the delegations. So we have a resolution for item 4.3, Mr. Barich's report that reads that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the report as information and directs staff to proceed with the project timeline as outlined. Can I call on Councillor Richardson to be our mover for that one? Councillor Richardson, are you with me? Did we lose Councillor Richardson? Okay, so I'm going to move on to Councillor Rothwell. Perhaps Councillor Richardson, he indicated that he might have to leave. Is he here? Councillor Richardson? Okay, he's waving his hand, so he has some audio-visual problem, but he will move this, is what I'm understanding. Yes, okay. And Councillor Rothwell, will you second this motion? Have evil elves gotten into our AV conference?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rothwell. I was worried that something evil had gotten into our AV system. All right. Any discussion or debate on this resolution, which pertains to receipt of the delegate report for item 4.3? Anyone have any concerns or issues? I believe our deputy clerk has this queued up in eScribe, so let's have that vote. And is that, who are we missing? Councillor Rothwell, I don't think we're seeing your vote. What say you?
I'm in favor. I've got a problem with eScribe. I did have a question, but that'll be fine. We'll deal with the question in the budget. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that is carried. This is for the community improvement program. And next, I think we have a resolution, but I don't have the text for it at the moment. Do you have a text for a resolution? Okay, so we're going to propose a resolution that is essentially as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receive the report, what's its title? Huron Perth Ag Science Center Feasibility Study for information, and that Council refer, or should we refer this matter to budget deliberations for the 2021 budget? Let's see here. Councillor Seiler, can I call on you to be our mover for that one?
I'll move it.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen as seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion, Mayor Kaysenberg.
Thank you. Okay, everyone understand what we're voting on? Do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Rothwell, did you want to speak to this? We're concerned because we see your name in the chat function, but we're not sure.
My question was on the previous motion regarding the facade improvement program. We'll deal with that at budget. No questions on this app.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else with questions or comments on this this resolution? Seeing none, let's have that vote. No, and that is carried. We have everybody, so thank you. Our technology might be back in line. We're hoping. We are hoping. All right, thank you, Council. We are at item 5. We have a number of reports to consider under this item. I wonder if we shouldn't take a 5-minute break, if only the mayor can have a health break. So let's do 5 minutes. We'll come back at 8:46 for the sake of argument, if you'll indulge me. Thank you. We'll be back soon.
I think I'm back.
Okay, we resume council from our bio break. Thank you for your indulgence. We begin with items in agenda item number 5, reports from staff departments. And let us begin with item 5.1. While our agenda doesn't show any reports coming from the CAO's office, with council's consent, I think it appropriate to call on CAO Snell to give us an update on responses that are in our future with regards to today's provincial announcements that they will cause a gray or lockdown state to be affected as of midnight, December 25th. So I think we should hear from CAO Snell, a brief verbal report about the response of the corporation to today's announcements from the Premier and his team. CAO Snell.
Thank you again, Mayor, and good evening, Council. As I'm sure Council is aware, the Premier did announce a province-wide shutdown effective 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, December 26th. And while this will not affect many of our services because much of our services are considered essential, for example, public works and the rest of the agency supporting those services. However, one major announcement affecting our facilities is the immediate closure of all indoor and outdoor sports and recreation facilities as a result of the announcement. So effectively 12:01 on Saturday, our indoor recreation facilities will have to be closed for the 28-day period shutdown. Some of our outdoor recreation amenities can remain open, including trails and outdoor ice rinks. So our staff will be working to implement these changes. We'll be working on ways to maximize staff working from home and minimizing our contact with the public in many cases. Another change will also be the library going back to just curbside service, and people will no longer be allowed to make appointments for browsing of materials at the library. So staff continues to digest the announcement. We just received details late this afternoon, but we will be over the next 24 hours coming up with a appropriate staffing plan and communicating that plan to council and the public prior to Christmas. Thank you. I'll answer any questions council may have.
Councillors, it is fairly fresh information. I think there are a few areas where we still have questions, including exactly what the definitions of essential services will be. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll see what we can do to get answers. For preference, anyone? Okay. So if something comes up over the course of the meeting as we near adjournment, council, and you have a question, you're welcome to bring that back to our attention. Let's turn to item 5.2 then. For item 5.2, I begin by noting that we have lots of drains. And many of these drains seem to have been subjected to work in recent months. And as some of that work comes to a close or sort of organizes itself well, we have before us a report pertaining to cost reapportionment agreements for a few of the drains. I think the report's from, okay, so it's going to be Clerk Bearfeltz who will deliver this report. Let me just set up the AV so that she can do that. Hold on.
As stated in the report, Council, in order to keep the drainage reapportionments accurate, and this is in regards to applications for land severance or consent, Danette prepares periodically a report for Council authorizing myself to sign agreements for drainage apportionments with various landowners dealing with these municipal drains. As stated in the report you can see tonight, we have 7 drains that will require an agreement, and what we're asking is Council's authorization so that I can move forward with signing these agreements.
Thanks, Clerk Bearfeltz. So, Council, do you have any questions on this matter before I introduce to the record a resolution for our consideration? Okay, so we're not seeing any questions. So I have a resolution for our consideration that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth authorizes the clerk to sign the agreements for drainage reapportionments affecting the following municipal drains. 1, Gilkinson Municipal Drain, Elma. 2, Shade Municipal Drain, Wallace. 3, Johnston Municipal Drain, Elma. 4, Howick Drain number 11 extension, Wallace. 5, Howick Drain number 11 main drain, Wallace. 6, the Bartman Kurtzville Branch Municipal Drain, Wallace. And 7, the Bartman Municipal Drain, Wallace. Can I call on Councillor Anstep to be our mover for that one?
Yes, I would move those. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Behrens, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second those motions. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate before we move forward to a vote? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. That means that we can turn next to reports from our Recreation Department. For item 5.1, Council is presented with a report pertaining to the results of the tender for a project intended for spend in the 2020 and roll over into 2021 related to the installation of new light towers at the John Bell Diamonds and Listowel Memorial Park. I'm going to ask Interim Manager of Recreation Amy Gangle to address this matter. Welcome, Ms. Gangle.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As Mayor Kaysenberg has highlighted, the part of the 2020 capital projects was for staff working with RJ Burnside on the tender of baseball diamond towers and lights for John Bell Diamonds. We received 4 tenders for this bid, and you'll note that the bids themselves came in above what we initially budgeted for. In reviewing the assessments, having the site visits, and evaluating the needs for to be able to convert the lights and the lighting and electrical components for these towers, then the scope of work was greater than we anticipated, and therefore the reason for the exceeded budget amount. You will note that some of the additional pieces is also with regards to our engineering consulting to be able to assist us with this engineered project. I'm here to answer any questions if council would like.
Thanks, Ms. Gangle. Council, questions? You can indicate your questions or first comments in the chat function. Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Kaysenberg, and to Amy, and thank you for the report. So is the consistency here valid for supporting this purchase?
Ms. Gangle?
Consistency for proceeding with the project?
Our procedure bylaw?
So from my understanding with working with Treasurer Hale, if you'll note on the recommendation, council would have to reconsider the original project recommendation to approve this project with the new allocated amount prior to approving the tender.
So supplementary, can you hear me, Mayor Kaysenberg?
Yeah, you're good.
So I think we need to reconsider this as the recommendation because there was another amendment to them. Like, I'm cutting out. Huh.
Okay, no, we can hear you. We can hear you, Deputy. Can you hear us?
No.
Oh, okay. That's okay. It does sound like Deputy Mayor Kellum has a concern. Okay. So my understanding is that the deputy mayor's question pertains to procurement matters and procedural approaches to procurement, given the I think that we're seeing here and how we should proceed. So perhaps I'll call on Treasurer Hale. I'll loop her into this. Perhaps Treasurer Hale, you could comment on the procurement considerations that are here, if you understood the intent of the Deputy Mayor's question.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. At this point in time, it was my understanding that all those that submitted a bid did it on the same parameters. Burnside's provided a detailed outline of the acceptable parameters for the bid, and they were all submitted the same as per our procurement bylaw. And therefore, Josh went over the details as they were received, as did our consulting engineer, and it meets the requirements of our purchasing policy. Everyone knew and has bid on the same project, and therefore I feel it meets our purchasing bylaw requirement, unless you can identify something that is out of line we're not aware of. But to my knowledge and Josh's knowledge and Amy's knowledge, everything was, and our consulting engineer as well, everything was done as per our policy. And the project itself is more money, but as Amy has outlined very eloquently, it was because there was additional items that had to be considered, which could have gone to the demolition or to here, but it seemed more appropriate to be here in this particular project, and therefore obviously we need to council needs to reconsider the budgeted amount. But other than that, the purchasing process was in line with our policies.
Thanks, Ms. Hale. Deputy Mayor, I don't know if you've reconnected successfully or want to give it another shot. Do you have anything further on that?
I do. I'm not good with that, but that's just my opinion. Here we go again about trying to shop local, doing everything we can. I just wondering if there was a procedure where the recommended lights that we're putting in, and then they had an alternative. Is the alternative somewhere that someone else could have, rebid to help us in North Perth? Just my opinion.
Okay, I'm not sure if a response is required. It sounded like an opinion, so we'll leave it at that for now. If there's a question, we can add it to the end of the discussion period. Who's next, Clerk Bearfelds? Councillor Rothwell, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and thanks for the reports, Amy, and the response for Fran. My concern is regarding the information that we had directly from our engineer as well as the local contractor. They must have obviously felt that presumably the existing wiring must have been fine at the time. I mean, I certainly understand the control panel, and certainly we had some conversation previous to that. To this report, but at over $130,000 more, I am almost shocked that somehow somebody didn't pick up on this, that this is fully a third more, or more than a third more than our project cost. And then perhaps we need a more detailed breakdown from you, Amy, for council to understand why we could have, our estimate could have been so far out. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. Next up is Councillor Ridge. I may loop back to Ms. Campbell after a few of these questions and comments. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you for the report, Amy. I do believe my audio is back. just wondering, Fran, you had alluded to the fact that there's a possibility that maybe some of this could have been included into the demolition project. There was not a lot of referral to that in the report that I could see. Was there something that was taken out of, like with the demolition? Is that going to be, is anything incorporated into the demolition of the arena, or is it strictly the demolition and decommissioning of the poles that we have strictly for this particular site? I'm just sort of wondering if maybe some of the costs have gone into there, that it's if they're stealing, robbing from Peter to pay Paul type of thing. Is that the situation that we're in? Because I too am shocked. Like, I do believe that it needs to go forward, but I am quite surprised at the staggering increase in the cost for that. And if you can get miscellaneous little bits and up and down 5 to 8% of a difference of a quotation, possibly even 10% might be difference, but this is a significant overlay and misestimation, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Clerk Fairfields, do we have anyone else on the speaker list at this point? Okay, so Ms. Gangle, did you want to sort of tackle responses to anything that you heard in terms of opinion or a question?
Yeah, just to clarify with regards to the 210,000 with regards to the demolition, there was, if council will recall, during the capital budget discussions, there was the demolition discussion, and then there was the ball light discussion, and the component with regards to the power that is located in the Listowel Memorial Arena that services the ball lights, and therefore we had originally had this amount for the relocation of the power box attached to the ball diamonds, but it was under council direction that was shifted to the demolition. So that, just to clarify that component there, I think that's what Fran may have been discussing about. If council wishes, I can work with Josh and we can provide further more detail and background with regards to the process that occurred for this. If council would feel more comfortable with us, we will be able to provide that for council. And then work, just thinking, it may just postpone a little bit of our arena demolition, but that may happen already with the lockdown procedures as is. So we would have some time to bring back for the January 4th meeting if council would prefer.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Gangle. I think Councillor Richardson has a supplementary.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and thank you, Amy. I totally understand that. I just think that sometimes when you go through the budgeting process, that I'd certainly get going through, like with the decommissioning of that one power box, with the demolition of the arena, and then is there any way we could possibly, for the a follow-up report to this, is to get that explanation, because I do think that it's coming out of one budget allotment and going into another here, that it's not necessarily leaps and bounds different than what it is, just because one was included in the other one, but now it's going to be included into this one, that with that, what's going to come out of the demolition for the arena and the moving of that power box, now we're going to incorporate it into this one, that possibly that will affect any budgetary amounts for the demolition of the arena. I don't know if it will or not, but just even if it's an explanation as to part of the offset of costs to do that, and it's not just misquoting it, so to speak, that we've actually reallocated from something from another budget line item. So just if I'm understanding correctly, that's what I'd like to see, just for my own peace of mind and clarification. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Richardson. My impression is that we did save some funds that were projected for the demolition of the Memorial Arena against that project budget. And maybe Ms. Gangle, you can confirm, but I don't think it was on the scale of this. This is much larger than the scale of funds that have been committed to the demolition, that underneath the ceiling that we projected for that. So I think there's some concerns there. Councillor Seiler, I believe, is next.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. My concerns about this whole project is that our ball lights have always been worked on with local contractors in our municipality and whatnot. So what is this going to bring down the road after we have this installed and whatnot? Who's going to maintain them and who's going to look after these lights? And what's it going to cost the municipality? I think we need to look at this.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gangle, it sounds like your report's getting, you might want to consider the maintenance issues, and I don't know whether those had been considered in the tender or not. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, anytime staff are doing with any tender, the first thing we think of is the maintenance component. That would be part of the reason we've presented this as part of a 2020 capital was the difficulty we were seeing with the current ball light replacements. So we do take that in consideration. That is part of the discussion. That is a requirement of the supplies to be able to service them. So that is something that is in our discussions.
I don't agree to this.
Thank you. Councillor Seiler, you have further comments or questions?
Well, I just thought I'd bring that comment up because I know that my times with being with the ball executive and whatnot, and we need to aim lights or change bulbs, it always seemed to be a problem getting up there with the height. We had to use our aerial truck here to make that work. There's a whole lot involved here, and I just want to bring these comments forward. We need to think on who would be service the municipality the best.
Sure. I think, council had a robust discussion about its procurement bylaws with regards to how we structure those matters. That needs to be considered in the report that Ms. Gangle brings back forward to this council, if it's council's to she do that. Anyone else to speak? Councillor Behrens next, please.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. My concern is more about the LED lighting that's being used. Is it the same as what we are using at other ballparks? And the availability of this, because it suggests, and I believe it is actually in the Burnside letter, that it suggests an equivalent LED lighting product. Did we stipulate one and they substituted another? And how does that work in comparison with what we already have in other ballparks? I don't need an answer right now, but if we could get that in the report that Amy could be working on, that would be fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. Any other individuals? Okay, Deputy Mayor Callum, you want to try see if we can get you here?
No, I'm fine. Everything's good. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gangle, I'm going to add to your report pains here. I think we need to understand usage of those ball diamonds, and because that's an enormous cost. And while baseball is absolutely my favorite sport, revealing parts of myself to this council tonight, I am concerned about that and its return on investment over time. So I think we need to have some sense of the utilization of those parks and the lit hours, if you will, and what the consequences would be if we elected not to take action on a project like this. Any other comments from council at this point? Okay, we're not seeing any. So I think the resolution that we have here appears to me to be not likely to receive council consent. The resolution talks about proceeding with award of tender and amending the project budget to address this. I don't think that's the case. I think what council wants is a resolution that is that the council directs staff to return a report to this council the issues that were raised by councillors in this meeting. Anyone on council vigorously disagree with my interpretation of the situation? Okay, so not seeing that, that's the motion that we're working with. Councillor Duncan, can I call on you to be our mover?
Yes, I'll move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Callum, will you second that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or debate or any additions you want to make to the report that's going to come back from staff on this matter? We're not seeing anything, so let's have that vote. We're missing one.
Mayor Todd, I'm in favor. I'm
Okay,
having problems with eScribe.
Thanks, Councillor Andreessen. So with that, that's carried. And I think that's enough for the night then. We can move forward from there. Next up, for item 5.3.2, Council is presented with a report related to a new opportunity to support through a pilot phase a seniors initiative to combat seniors isolation that is called Lonely No More. I'll ask Amy Gangle, our interim manager of recreation, to address this one as well. Welcome back, Amy.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. If you indulge, I'm going to read this report as it's got some good background and information for council to hear with regards to this. So in 2018, a pilot study of the Lonely No More program was initiated by the Gateway Center of Excellence in Rural Health located in Goderich with provincial funding. The Lonely No More program provides rural seniors the ability to participate in a free phone-based peer support program that addresses their need for socialization in a safe and protected space. The program also provides rural seniors a chance to take leadership positions within their community. The Lonely No More program consists of weekly teleconferences called Elder Circles between isolated seniors facilitated by educated community members, trained volunteers. What makes this program unique and desirable in rural community contexts is its three-pronged approach to combating social isolation: peer support, health coaching, and system navigation. Prior to participation, volunteers are provided education at the Lonely No More outreach model, elder abuse bystander engagement, resource navigation, and health coaching dialogues. This education enables program volunteers to look for red flags that may indicate elder abuse, such as financial, physical, etc., or the need for system navigation support. Once a red flag has been identified, volunteers conduct one-on-one follow-up conversations with those individuals outside the weekly call. The pilot study ran from December 2018 to April 2019 in Huron County and has since been expanded in 2020. The Lonely No More program in Huron County has been quite successful, with 75% participants and volunteers stating the program had a positive impact on their life, especially during the pandemic, and 94% of individuals say they would recommend their role in the program to other community members. The Gateway Center of Excellence in Rural Health has had recent discussions with us at the municipality on the possibility of initiating this program in our community. To implement a 6-month pilot program in North Perth, the municipality would be responsible for recruitment of senior participants, recruitment of volunteers, and the development, approval, and implementation of a program sustainability plan. The Gateway Center would be responsible for toolkit development, student support, training, coordination of the pilot program, and providing mentorship to North Perth staff for sustainability of the Lonely No More program past the pilot phase. Similar services are offered in North Perth by other organizations such as the VON, North Perth Hospice, Community Living, Canadian Mental Health Association. However, where those programs are more of a one-on-one telehealth format, the Lonely No More program is a social isolated focus program with a group format peer support. The intention of the Lonely No More program will be to use it to collaborate with and promote other services in North Perth in the older adult population. We want to work with these other groups and help promote that. Staff will seek ways to promote the program to complement what is currently happening, filling service gaps identified. It's also intent to engage with our older adults and help guide the department on coordinating future community and recreation programs for them. The intentions regarding financial implications. Intention is to apply for funding to cover the cost to initiate the pilot program. Once the pilot program is complete, the municipality of North Perth would be responsible for the operating cost to sustain the program. Based on the sustainability cost breakdown provided by Gateway Center, the annual program cost would be approximately $12,000. This annual project cost represents about 85 individuals engaged and served, so 60 participants and 25 community volunteer engaged in the training. Additional costs may occur due to the loss of trained staff retaining of new volunteers. In addition to the financial program costs, a moderate number of municipal staff hours, we are estimating 5 hours a week, would be required to administer the Lonely No More program in the pilot phase and to sustain the program long term. It's suggested the Lonely No More program would fall under the responsibility of the new manager of programs position and the program coordinator. Total estimated annual cost with the program and staff hours is approximately $20,000. Referring to the Parks and Recreation Business Plan, staff hours would be allocated from the Community Program Services, and the program would fall under Strategic Project 4.42 to promote and ensure community programs are relevant to residents with differing needs. And I'm here to answer any questions. There's additional information about the project attached to the report.
Thanks, Ms. Gangle. Councillors, questions or first comments? I think I saw Councillor Richardson up.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, but I do believe Julie was first, but I'll be happy to step up. Ms. Gangle, thank you so much for the report, and I do appreciate it, and I think that this is going to be an exceptional program. The costs are minimal because I do know that loneliness in our senior population, as we do have an aging population, is a very significant concern, whether it was be lack of available family or lack of willingness to even talk with the elder people, that I think that at least trying to provide a little something would certainly be of benefit, and I fully support this program going forward. And I agree with your report wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Barnes, my apologies. I did not see you first. Please accept my apologies and have your say.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Just a couple of points. I do believe this is an absolutely amazing program. The concern is that we do have a number of other agencies within the municipality that are doing similar, and it didn't really talk about in the pilot project if we're going to reach out to those organizations and try to coordinate it. That one of them, may be interested in taking the lead as opposed to the municipality. I noticed in some of the supplementary material, Amy, that, they have a lot of other sponsors to this, not just the municipality. And the other thing is the motion itself. My concern is that, and I apologize, I'm just going back to the motion for a minute. It almost sounds like this is a given and a go, and we're going to continue to do this. And at what point does it even matter that we're moving to doing a pilot program? Because it says that we're going to do a follow-up report, which I look forward to, and look forward to the stats and everything of that. But then it says we're going to present a developed program sustainability plan for approval, which implies that we're going to continue this program irregardless of what the pilot program says. Technically, I think, sure, let's do the pilot program. Let's have a follow-up report. But in that follow-up report, I want to see where we've worked with the other local people within the municipality that are doing similar and see what we can come up with as a North Perth solution. Because the further that we move into, healthcare and mental health issues, I mean, quite frankly, we're not necessarily trained in all of that, but some of our service organizations are. So I have a little bit of concern there, but I think it will be an amazing program that we will continue. I'm just not sure that we're going to be the one that's totally funding it. So I look forward to a follow-up report.
Thanks, Councillor Behrens. I think, let me try this with you, I'll float this with you. The last 3 words, approval and implementation, should probably just be for consideration by council.
If I could just provide a little bit more detail behind that.
Sure.
In speaking, we have had the exact same thoughts as you, Councillor Barron. So those discussions have been amongst the staff and looking at the role of the municipality in this, and we too see the benefit of partnering within the community, and that's why we've had some of those discussions. We don't have commitments from them, so we have to go on an assumption that it would be held by the municipality at this point, and that's why we put in that wording. In speaking with the Gateway Center of Excellence, their goal is to provide a sustainable program and to have partners to be able to promote that sustainability. So their goal is they want us to be able to sustain this. They do understand that there is a possibility it may not, but that was their ask and their request with regards to being part of the grant. So totally respect the change that council is suggesting. I just wanted to provide that background that was connected to and the reason behind that initial draft.
Thanks. I'm taking notes and probably will tweak the resolution a little bit to see if you think, Amy, that the needs of assuring our interest in the pilot kind of thing. All right. Who's next? Clerk Berkels? Councillor Anstead, you're next.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg, through you. And I'll be brief, but I want to just echo what Councillor Richardson and what Councillor Barron said. I completely agree. This is a great program. I do have a little bit of familiarity with it, that it is operating in Goderich, and I've heard good things about it there. And obviously with the announcement today from the Premier, programs like this are more important than ever. Just touching on what Councillor Barron said, Amy, the big thing for me, I think, is going to be the statistics around this. The pilot program is great, but I think we're going to need to really show numbers and also the participation. And then also, like was mentioned earlier, the amount of service organizations and the various groups that we can get involved as well, because there's no way that we can do this all ourselves. So again, that's kind of what I'm looking for out of the report after the pilot program, if it was to move forward, what we can get out of that. And again, that's going to, I think, help us make the case that this is something that we can support long term. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstead. Clerk Berkels, next. We think that's the list. Okay. So let me float another resolution of modification. What I want to do is make sure that Ms. Gangle doesn't feel that we're directing in ways that will jeopardize our opportunity to participate in the pilot, but at the same time respects council's interests in ensuring that it and other partners can be brought to the table for sustainability past the pilot phase. So let me try this one. Resolution to consider that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommends staff resources be used to participate and implement the Lonely No More 6-month pilot program for North Perth beginning January 2021. And further, that staff provide a follow-up report to Council on the outcomes, plural, of the pilot program and present a program sustainability plan, including possible community partnerships for consideration by Council. Any thoughts? Councillor Behrens, Councillor Anstead. Seem okay?
Actually, my concern, I am concerned that we have the agencies involved, and that we at least speak with them and see if we can continue to keep them involved. But I guess I'm questioning the timeline because it says it's beginning January 2021. And I'm not sure we're even going to have the people trained to do it at that time. But there is no point in doing a pilot project if we're going to say, okay, once we do the pilot project, we're going to develop a program sustainability. Like the logistics isn't there. If we could say that, pending a successful pilot or something, we would consider, North Perth Council would consider the development of program stability plan for approval and implementation. We just can't say it's a given, or there's no point in doing the pilot project. That's my technical problem with it.
Okay. Okay. An alternative here. Councillor Anstead, did you have any advice on?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in, and that would be my big concern as well, is that we want to just develop something about evaluation of the pilot program to determine, I don't know if we want to say long-term viability or long-term implementation or something along those lines. But again, I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're doing the pilot, and once the pilot's completed, then we're going to be re-examining it for future use. Thank you.
Okay. So let me try this second part again. I'll see if I'm getting there. And further, that staff provide a follow-up report to the outcomes of the pilot program and pending successful pilot as deemed by council, present or consider the development of a program sustainability plan, possible community partnerships. So that captures the idea that we are going to evaluate the report and then decide whether we want to commission the development of a program sustainability plan. Is that?
Yeah, I would be fine with that. Oh, sorry.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we're getting. Any other councillors have any suggestions to us before we put this on the floor formally? Okay, we're not seeing anything. Are there any other questions or comments before I actually ask for a seconder for this one? So the primary changes, second and further that, it reads as staff provide a follow-up report to council on outcomes of the pilot program and successful pilot as deemed by council. Consider the development of a program sustainability plan, including possible community partnerships. Okay, let me just check with Amy Gang. Amy, do you see anything really wrong with that one?
No, we can work with that. Thanks, Council.
Okay, good, thank you. Then I'm hoping Council understands what I'm putting on the floor here, what I'm suggesting. Councillor Johnston, would you?
Yes, I would move that. I'm very excited for this program.
Thank you. And Councillor Richardson, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will gladly second that.
Okay, any discussion or debate? Let me ask if the poor deputy clerk has kept up with the revisions. We think deputy clerk here is okay? We can catch it all tomorrow, okay. True, recordings are useful. All right, Council, in the absence of any further comments, then let's have that vote.
I'm in favor. My e-scribe is not working. I'll have to restart. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstead. And we're missing one other.
Mayor Kasenberg, I believe that's me. It did not come up. I am absolutely in favor. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Behrens. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm from what I'm hearing by the end of this discussion. Great. Thank you very much, Council, for this one. I too am extremely excited about the prospects of this. Let's turn to item 5.4, reports from the Treasury and Finance Department. As item 5.4.1, finance staff have brought forward for council review The accounts of, as of this day, December 21st, 2020, I do note that 3 councillors have declared a potential pecuniary interest in this item and will absent themselves from consideration and voting. Are there any questions about this report from those other councillors for our staff on this report? Seeing none, I have a resolution before me for our consideration that the following summary of accounts be received by council for information. The total is $4,611,126. Ho, ho, ho. And can I call on Councillor Rothwell to be our mover for that?
I so move, yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, will you be our seconder for that one?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate from council on this matter? Questions? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Next up is item 5.4.2. And all I can say is that the work of drains is ongoing. Council is asked to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Elliott Municipal Drain. And I think Ms. Hale might speak to this one. Ms. Hale?
Thank you very much, Mayor Kaysenberg, members of council. As you can see, the Elliott Municipal Drain work has been completed as per our drainage superintendent. $12,411.71 will be billed out with council's approval. $11,841.91 for North Perth properties and $146.57 for Township of Mapleton. And bylaw 180/2020 is available for your consideration.
Thanks, Ms. Hale. Council, any questions about this matter? Okay, I have for our consideration the following bylaw enablement resolution, that bylaw number 180-2020, being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Elliott Municipal Drain, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Andreessen, will you serve as our mover on this one?
Yes, I'll make that motion, Mayor Kaysenberg.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstedt, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I would second that. Thank you.
Thanks. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Second verse, same as the first, different drain. So we have item 5.4.3. This is for consideration that bylaw number 181-2020, being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Martin Municipal Drain, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Behrens to be our mover for that one?
Yes, I will move that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Duncan, will you second that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate on the Martin Drain? Seeing none, let's have that vote. That's carried, so we're moving ahead with that. Next up then is the item 5.4.4. Council is asked to replace an earlier bylaw with an update that addresses the subject of tangible capital assets. Now, I'm not sure okay, so I'm going to invite Ms. Becky Belfour, our Deputy Treasurer and Specialist, to address this item. Ms. Belfour, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. First off, Merry Christmas and a safe and happy holiday this season. So before you is the replacement bylaw 184/2020 tangible capital asset policy. We've been working diligently trying to complete gold star data, as Lyndon would call it, ensuring our GIS and our citywide data match, and making sure we have everything up to date. And during this process, we discovered that we needed to update this bylaw, the useful life of some equipment, some vehicles, a sidewalk, and bridges. Just to, it was felt by staff that the numbers or the useful life that we had on those assets were a little off. And so really the impact will be seen over the future years. In my example, I had indicated that a compactor worth $150,000 over 20 years, which is what it is currently, would be $7,500 a year for depreciation. And we're going to move that to 15 years with an amortization expense of, or depreciation expense of $10,000 a year on operating. So it's just really a housekeeping item as we move forward, just ensuring that our useful lives match what they really should be for the various assets that we've identified within this report. So I just ask that council move forward with this replacement bylaw.
Thanks, Ms. Belfour. Any questions or first comments from council on this matter? Anything? Okay, so I have a resolution, a bylaw resolution here that reads as follows: that bylaw 184-2020 being a bylaw to replace bylaw 107-2015 to establish a tangible capital asset policy be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to serve as our mover for that one?
Yes, I will make that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Johnston, will you serve as our seconder for that one?
Yes, I would second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate from council? We're not seeing anything, so let's have that vote.
My vote did not pop up. I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anstedt. And there we go. So that is carried. We have everybody accounted for. Next then is item 5.4.5. Council is asked to allow the treasurer to act on the corporation's behalf to acknowledge a letter pertaining to the province's intended provision of financial supports under the Safe Restart program that pertains to COVID-19 recovery. Ms. Hale, a few comments?
Mayor Kasenberg, members of council, this is just good news, a little more support from the province and federal government, and it's always appreciated.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Councillors, any questions or first comments on this one? We're not seeing any. Thank you. So I have a resolution for our consideration that is as follows: that the council of the municipality of North Perth received the Safe Restart Agreement funding letter dated December 16th, 2020 for information, and authorizes the Director of Finance Treasurer to sign the funding acknowledgement to be returned to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. I think we're at Councillor Behrens. Councillor Behrens, would you serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I would move that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? We're not seeing any. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Santa Province. We appreciate the support. We have no reports tonight from our Manager of Environmental Services, our Manager of Operations, or our Fire Chief. We wish them a very safe and relatively quiet holiday season. I think that's our general hope at this point. That brings us to agenda item number 6. For item 6.1, councillors, are there any reports that you would like to ask of staff or our committees? To request an opportunity to speak, of course, indicate in the chat feature, and Clerk Fairfelds will give me notification. Anything on reports? Pat? Okay. We've received no further items of correspondence that require council's action or attention tonight, which brings us to item 8. We have a few bylaws here to consider. The first pertains to a bylaw to provide for drainage works known as the Gilkinson Municipal Drain. Clerk Bearfelds, let me just set that up for you. Hold on. Find the right buttons here to press.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg. Council, I'd like to take this opportunity to update you on the Gilkinson Municipal Drain. As you will remember, this particular drain was under appeal by a landowner that was assessed on the municipal drain. The actual tribunal was slated to happen on December the 7th. However, prior to the moving forward with the tribunal, the appellant chose to withdraw his appeal, and therefore tonight we're able to move forward with a third reading of this municipal drain, and it will be constructed now as per the report.
Thanks, Clerk Bearfelds. Council, any questions or first comments on this? We're not seeing any, so I have a resolution for consideration of bylaw number 3-2020 being a bylaw to provide for a drainage works Gilkinson Municipal Drain be introduced, read, and considered read a third time and be finally passed, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Deputy Mayor Kellum, can I call on you to be our mover?
Yes, I will make that motion. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Johnston, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I would second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, Council? Seeing none, let's have that vote. That's carried. Next up, we have item 8.2, wherein we're asked to enact a bylaw authorizing agreement between the corporation and the Maitland Valley Snowmobile Club. Anything to say on this one? It's a renewal of a regular agreement that we have with this club. Okay. Let me read the resolution then, that bylaw number 183-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the Maitland Valley Snowmobile Club be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time and be finally passed. The said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Richardson to be our mover for that one?
I will move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Rothwell, will you be our seconder?
I'll second the motion, yes.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that's carried. Zoom, zoom. All right. My attempt at humor tonight, I don't know. Okay, Pat didn't smile. Okay, item 8.3 is with regards to, let's see here. Item 8.3 is the amending an appointment bylaw for the current term. I think this is just flow through of individuals who've resigned and a new appointment. And so I'll read the resolution that bylaw number 185-2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 161-2018 be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time and be finally passed, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on Councillor Seiler to be our mover for that one?
I will so move. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Andreessen, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on these appointments? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that's carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda. Are there any notices of motion for councillors attending tonight? Okay, we're not seeing anything. That brings us to item 10 on our agenda. For item 10.1, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? If you'd like to speak, please so indicate in the web chat window. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I would just like to wish everyone from the municipality and abroad and everywhere a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Just like to remind everyone to be safe, be well, and be kind. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. You're stealing my thunder, so we'll hold off on those other holiday announcements, but appreciate the sentiment. Councillor Barnes?
Well, I apologize, Mayor Todd, because I simply was going to say that I wanted to thank everyone within our community, all the frontline workers, and especially our staff for stepping up in what has proven to be a very difficult year. And just thank everyone for being a part of this community and doing the best to help us continue on. So sorry about that, Mayor Kasenberg, but Merry Christmas, everyone.
Apologies are never needed for kind greetings. All right, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Kellum?
Amazing, said Mayor Barnes. Is there not a breakfast tomorrow morning?
A breakfast for what?
Is Diana Sweets doing a breakfast tomorrow for North Perth?
Not that I'm aware of. CAO Snell, did you want to answer that question?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Because of the rules of the pandemic and guidance from the health unit, we're not permitted to proceed with our 2020 breakfast.
Okay. Any other questions or announcements at this time? Okay. That brings us to agenda item 11. We don't have any closed session business for tonight, so we're clear there. That means that with regards to item number 12 on our agenda, we have no report staff, since we didn't actually participate in a closed session meeting. I'm going to make a few greetings type comments after our confirmatory bylaw considerations. So for the benefit of those who are watching, as good practice, Council acts near the end of its meeting to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what we call the confirmatory bylaw. And I have a draft of that for our consideration that reads as follows: that bylaw number 187-2020 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the municipality, of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. That the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call on, oh no, I've lost my place, it's terrible. Councillor Johnston, will you be our mover for this one?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Richardson, will you serve as our seconder for that one?
I will second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried, of course, acknowledging our colleagues who did not participate. Before I provide a motion to adjourn, it's my pleasure to issue Christmas and New Year's greetings at this time. And believe it or not, this might be a first, I can't resist singing a line of a song for you. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. There you go, singing mayor. And encouraging all in our community to do the same. We're coming off what must be considered a highly unusual year at best, one that tested our capabilities, our compassion, our patience, and our grit. I want to thank councillors for their diligence in responding to our community and to your mayor when called upon. I want to thank staff for their exceptional service and ingenuity in 2020, and make special note of how many of you consistently work hours longer than is asked at projects that have shifted and reshaped and reshaped and reshaped over the course of 2020. Resilience of the organization of all of us has been put to the test. In 2020, we have accomplished some significant things and so many little things that make North Perth a great place to live. We have crossed the halfway point of this council's term of office. We have more great and interesting things ahead. I can continue to say tonight, as I have for a few years, that I am North Perth proud. How about I roll call this and ask each of the councillors to extend their Christmas greetings just briefly. Why don't we start with Councillor Andreessen? Please, maybe 2 breaths. If you can keep it to 2 breaths, we'd appreciate that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Yes, I just want to extend my greetings as well to all constituents in North Perth and our frontline workers. We really appreciate everything you've done to support our community and look forward to a great 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anstead?
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg. Again, I just want to bring greetings on behalf of myself and my whole family to everybody, including the first responders and the frontline workers. They're really amazing at what they do. And just to touch on what you said, please, I'm imploring everyone, please follow the advice of public health. This is a crucial time. If we don't get control of this now, 2021 is not going to be any better than 2020. I know that's difficult to see right now, not celebrating Christmas with our families, but 2021 Christmas will be that much better if we do what we're supposed to now. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstead. Councillor Behrens, a few more words?
I just want to say thank you to everyone and echo Councillor Ansted's comments about taking appropriate action. You know, we're in a different kind of war this time around, but there were many people who weren't home for Christmas even last year. I think of our armed forces and everything else, our frontline workers, everyone. Just be safe, be happy, and hopefully we'll see everyone next year.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
I just want to wish everyone in North Perth and surrounding areas a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and hope to see everyone in 2021 for a way more prosperous year than we've had this year.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kellum.
An amazing year. We agree to disagree. And is what, Mayor Behrens taught me years ago. Just let it go. But anyway, have a great Christmas. Everyone stay safe and look forward to working with you the next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnston.
I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I agree with all the other sentiments. Let's stay home, let's stay positive, and let's make 2021 a great year.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, a few more words?
I agree with everything that's been said, but ultimately I just want to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas. And at the end of the day, we need to adhere to all of the rules and regulations that are set out by public health. They're there for a reason. If we don't have time to do this right, we will not have time to do it twice. So let's, like I said before, we'll keep calm and carry on, and we will persevere together. And thank you so much, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd. I, like the rest, agree. Let's eat, drink, and be merry in person with our households and virtually with our families, both across the road or across the country or around the world. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy 2021.
Awesome. Thank you. No, I don't feel so isolated. And Councillor Seiler, are you going to sing for us too?
I'm not much of a singer. My wife and I, Debbie, would like to say Merry Christmas to everyone in North Perth and all my fellow colleagues and workers and what have you. And we also like to thank you for all your support that you've given us this past end of this year and whatnot. And we are looking forward to a better 2021 like everyone else. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you all, Council. Thank you for your warm wishes and your continuing kindness to our community. May I extend on behalf of this council, on behalf of the staff of the municipality, and on behalf of your mayor and his wife and son, my heartiest wishes for a wonderful, warm, and wise Christmas holiday season. Please be safe and sensible. Please be community-minded in your outings during the lockdown that is to come. Wear your warm socks and your mask. They should be thought of as the same item of clothing. Mind your distance from those in your household. Most importantly, if you are feeling sick, please stay home. And sing some of the wonderful songs of the season, as you've heard Councillor Rothwell do a whole verse. That was impressive. In your homes as you enjoy the changed festivities that will create what I actually expect will be long-lasting memories for all the generations alive today. With that, Council, I take note that the clerk has organized a small virtual celebration for us, so you're invited to stay on the call after we exit with our motion to adjourn. And with that, I'll bring forward a motion for adjournment that reads as follows: that the council meeting adjourns at 9:58 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, January 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Can I call on Councillor Anstedt to be our mover for that one?
Yes, I would move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Behrens, will you be our seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you. That's not debatable, so let's have that vote.
I am in favor. My vote did not appear. Thank you.
Thanks. And that is carried. We are adjourned. Council, stick around for just a little bit so that we can have our dance party.